Hi everyone, I'm Dre, the host and founder of the Dragon Network.
For my last video of 2020, I thought what I would do is to identify the 5 topics or 5 trends that I think will be focused on for 2021. So this is my first sort of annual switchover, so I don't have the opportunity to look back at what my predictions were for 2020 to see if I achieved them. However, I'm fairly confident that I did not get them correct because I didn't foresee the global pandemic coming in 2020. So with that said, I am going to go forward and give my 5 focus areas for 2021. And then a year from now, we'll take a look back and see if I was on the money with them or if I am completely off track and 2021 has more fun and excitement in store for us than I thought. So let's get started. The first big thing that I think we'll be focused on in 2021 is the technology associated with supporting the vaccination rollouts. So I do believe that the current vaccine rollouts are going fairly well. However, they're focused on, a small subset of the populations, and we haven't really hit that critical mass where we need to start inoculating everyone and we need to start scheduling return visits. So both the Pfizer vaccine and the Moderna vaccine require 2 doses. And I believe I read just recently AstraZeneca has been approved in some areas. So the scheduling that's associated with that and reaching out to ensure that we can have, wide ranges of the population vaccinated around the world in sequence or in priority areas, I think is going to be a challenging thing for IT. And there's going to be some gotchas along the way. So I think that'll take up a big chunk of our work. So the second thing that I think we're going to spend some time focusing around is telemedicine. So in 2020, there was a significant uptake of telemedicine and telehealth chatbots and things like that. And in some instances, practice were reporting hundreds of percentages in increases in their telehealth use. So we've seen a little bit of that scale back towards the end of the year. And I think one of the things that health IT professionals will assist organizations and clinics with in the 2021 year is to really figure out where that balance is for telemedicine services. So what is the ideal balance for your in-person versus your remote? Where does asynchronous versus synchronous come into play, and what's the balance for that? And I also think there's going to be a little bit of time spent on figuring out whether the telemedicine solutions that were put in place in 2020 are the right ones for the organizations. So a lot of those solutions were put in place very, very rapidly. So there may not have been sufficient time to focus on what exactly was coming out of the box with these products. And I think taking a step back to revisit the requirements and to optimize the systems, or in some cases to actually look at other systems that are out there to determine what the long-term solution would be, I think is something that a number of organizations are going to embark upon. So keeping telemedicine in mind, the third thing that I think organizations are going to spend time on with health IT is the concept of a digital front door. So as the general population becomes more and more comfortable with accessing healthcare services online, I think we're going to notice that we need to spend a little bit more time on what the digital front door looks like for a lot of organizations. So by digital front door, I mean the area of your website or your initial app launch pages that's actually going to assist in navigating the consumer or the patient or family member through the different services that are offered and the different things that they can interact with online. So sometimes that isn't quite as seamless as you would like, and you end up with, multiple different web pages to go to, different drop downs, things that aren't really defined well, or things that aren't aesthetically pleasing to a customer. So I think with the move towards more consumerism in the health industry, as well as the digital services being increased and that right mix of services being optimized, I think designing those digital front doors and putting some IT energy into making sure that they function appropriately is going to be a great investment for 2021 and something that a lot of organizations will focus on. So my fourth prediction for health IT trends in 2021 is financial operational models for health organizations. So one of the things that was highlighted with the COVID-19 pandemic is the fact that there are a number of organizations who rely very heavily on elective procedures for a good source of their organizational income. Some of the efficiencies that they have within the inpatient space or the acute care space may not be as cost effective as they would like. So I think the balance between essential and electives, as well as inpatient, outpatient, and how that whole financial model looks, I think is going to take quite a bit of effort and quite a bit of time to sort of figure out for each organization. So once we get the pandemic sort of settled and we're not in this very high alert, high responsive situation that we are now, I think you're going to see some organizations actually taking that step back and looking at their financial model and making decisions to acquire other organizations, to merge together, to diversify into certain areas, to try to have a better balance for fiscal responsibility. When those types of things happen, IT most certainly needs to become involved, because you often have disparate systems that need to work together, or you're going to have new services that are being offered. You've got movement of staff, movement of buildings, setting up of new clinics. So there's sort of a never-ending stream of activity that occurs when you look to align everything so that it is in a healthier position to handle unexpected activities going forward. So I do think that that is something that we're going to see an increase in, and IT will certainly need to support those efforts. So last but certainly not least, my fifth prediction for where we'll be spending our time and focus in health IT for 2021 is actually in the consumer world. So I know that over the last several years, there's been a lot of conversations around, increasing the consumerism and having things be more patient-centric, and to integrate that into our current IT environments. And I do think in 2021, we're going to start to see some of that actually occur. I think there's two particular consumer apps or consumer type activities that are going to lead the way for integration. And I think those are sleep, and the way that sleep is tracked, monitored, and analyzed. So a lot of organizations, for example, have sleep clinics where someone will come into the organization for a sleep study. I think we'll start to see a shift where external data, so perhaps from your sleep app on your Apple Watch or from your Fitbit, can actually be incorporated into the records, and people can start looking at it sort of more holistically instead of that 1 or 2 night stay. They can start to look at sleep patterns over time by ingesting that data. So I think sleep is one of them, and I think the second one that we're going to start seeing incorporated in 2021 is fitness related activities. So we do see some already incorporated into outpatient cardiovascular programs and rehab programs and things like that. But I do think we're going to see a lot more of that. And I think we're going to see it in the areas of chronic health management. So perhaps your primary care physician may look to technology solutions that have the ability to incorporate your daily steps or your fitness distance, things like that. So I think that's the second one that's going to happen. But I do think that the technology and the activities around connecting those applications into our larger health organizations and some of that API interoperability, I think we're going to actually see take off in 2021. So we've been talking about it for a long time. We've started to see things like the promoting interoperability rule, and I think those are going to sort of come to a head in 2021, and we're going to start to see some real progressive movement in that area. So those are the 5 places that I think we're going to be focused from a health IT perspective in 2021. And there's really no way to find out if I'm going to be right or not, other than waiting all the way till next year and then taking a look back. But I'm excited to see how I do. And of course, all 5 areas that I predict we'll spend time on are going to be significantly beneficial to patients and to organizations overall. So I think it's an exciting time. I'm happy to put 2020 behind us and to look forward to 2021. And I hope you're ready to do the same. I will see you next time.